All right, so I'm going to go on from here. Now, this morning's topic is, I don't want to claim it, bridging the gap between science and faith. And we could ask for no better speaker than Dr. Tamiko Magee Rogers, the Director of Recruitment and Strategic Initiatives at the Global Alzheimer's Platform Foundation, or GAP. So let me read her bio. Dr. Magee Rogers has worked in the field of aging for more than 17 years, assuming roles such as a mental health clinician, clinical research coordinator in Alzheimer's disease studies, and staff clinical research scientist supporting clinical research trials in total hip and knee arthroplasty. Did I say it? Dr. Magee Rogers' clinical research experience has resulted in multiple journal publications, conference presentations, and posters. Her published dissertation is entitled "The Character Strengths of Nursing Home Administrators Who Lead Exemplary Long-Term Care Facilities." Headquartered here in Atlanta, Dr. Magee Rogers joined GAP as the Associate Director of Recruitment and Strategic Initiatives in March of 2021 to lead GAP's initiative to improve recruitment of underrepresented populations in Alzheimer's disease clinical trials. Dr. Magee Rogers holds a Bachelor's of Science degree in psychology from Indiana University, Bloomington, a Master's of Science degree in gerontology from the University of Indianapolis, a graduate certificate in health policy, and a doctorate of philosophy in organizational leadership from Indiana Wesleyan University, where she currently serves as an adjunct faculty in leadership studies. Everyone, join me in welcoming a leader, scholar, and community-minded visionary, Dr. Tamiko Magee Rogers.
Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. I appreciate it. I wanted to just say congratulations to Dr. Epps and her team and to Mia. Yes, great first summit. This has been so rewarding. I've been so happy to be here. This is just so great, and I just appreciate the opportunity to discuss why we need to bridge the gap between faith and science and why that's so important. So, just to give you a little bit of background of what I do, GAP, people think GAP, right? The clothing company? No, we're not the clothing company. We are the Global Alzheimer's Platform Foundation. We were launched in 2016 as a startup company, and we were launched because the drug delivery process was taking long and it was so costly. So our president launched in 2016 to speed that delivery process and the costs associated with it. But as we've learned that clinical trials, especially in Alzheimer's disease, 1% to 5% of those from underrepresented populations participate in clinical trials. And we know that is a problem, right? So that's why we launched our initiative, our inclusive research initiative, to improve that representation. And what we did, and I just want to share with you, of all of the strategies that we've done so far, we have seen that 1% to 5% improve to 22% to 37% of underrepresented populations in clinical trials, especially in Alzheimer's disease trials. So thank you so much. Thank you. We can go to the next slide. I have no disclosures or conflicts to report. This is the agenda. Again, I gave you a brief overview of GAP, and I also wanted to share a mission moment. At GAP, we have a mission moment, and we just say, why do we do the work we do? Why was I called to be in Alzheimer's disease research? So I'm going to give you a little bit of background of why I'm doing the work that I'm doing today. And then I also did a PubMed search just to see how many articles are there on faith in medicine and how many are on faith and dementia, right? Just to understand what does the landscape look like. And then also we're going to just look at what a clinical research and clinical trials in medicine mean. What is that definition and what does that look like? And then also medicines to market. What does that look like? What does that process look like? I think we should all be informed and educated about the process of how do we bring medicines to market, because this information causes us to be informed and make the decisions we need to make. And then also faith and trust. Like Adrian was saying, we have faith, but we also have to trust the process. Trust that God has put the doctors, right, those researchers in the positions that they are to make these new treatments that we have for Alzheimer's disease. So I'm excited to share with you this agenda today, and we can go ahead and get started. Give you, again, an overview of GAP. So we have over 90 sites that we support in the US, as you can see where we are in those dots. And then we've also expanded to Europe. We have 30 sites in Europe. And what we do is we provide recruitment support to our sites. We have community connectors that are based across the United States, and they're all from a diverse community. And what they do is they provide recruitment support, strategy, right? They work with local Black churches, right, in the city, and they work with community organizations, and they work with government officials to ensure that we have a referral process, right? We have these community partners we have relationships with to help us build that referral process into our clinical trials. So that's why we've been able to meet 22% to 37% from underrepresented populations in our sites. So it's been great. We have a lot more to do. I hope we expand into Africa. That's what we're trying to do. And also to some of our islands, right? Our islands, Bahamas, Jamaica, Puerto Rico. So that's what we're working on, is trying to meet people where they're at. Not waiting for people to come to us, but go where they're at, go to their community. So it's so important. We can go to the next slide. So this is my mission moment. This is my grandmother. Her name is Olivia Magee. And we call her, she was a mother of a church, so we called her Mother Magee. And she was also a sister of a church, so we called her Sister Magee. She loved being in the church. She loved serving. She loved cooking. She loved cleaning. She just loved being there. She was born in Mississippi. She had a 4th grade education, and to improve her family's life, she moved to Indiana. And as you can see here, that's a picture of her and her husband and my aunt. And one of the things I want to share with you is her fear was not to get Alzheimer's disease. She did not want to lose her memory. She told me that in confidence. She's like, I'm just fearful as I age. I don't want to lose my memory. I don't want to get Alzheimer's disease. Unfortunately, that fear came to fruition 4 years ago. And it was a quick progression, so quick. As you can see here, I just want you all to see on your left, look at the smile she has. She has such a beautiful smile. But on the right, can't you see there's a difference, right? Can't you see that? She seems a little distressed, almost tormented in a way. So it was really hard on my aunt as a caregiver to just watch her progress so quickly. Her paranoia just progressed so quickly. She actually even wandered outside the home one day and got lost, and we didn't know where she was. So with that being said, I'm here to make sure people don't have that fear anymore, right? That we do find a cure for Alzheimer's disease. In my lifetime, in my children's lifetime, in my future generations, that we do have a cure for Alzheimer's. And I know right now she's smiling down from heaven saying, wow, Tamiko, okay, you go. You talk about this because this is so imperative, especially in the Black community, because I know, growing up in the church, my grandfather, he established churches in Indiana, Saginaw, Michigan, Haiti. Growing up in the church, we really relied on our faith, right? They didn't go to the doctor, they didn't go and get checked because they relied on their faith. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I think also we need to rely too and have faith in science that God helped create some of these interventions that we have. And God put these doctors in place, and not to be scared, right, of that process and of clinical trials. So this is why I'm here. I have a personal mission and a professional mission to advance the field and just make her fear no longer a fear for others. So just wanted to share that. Go on to the next one. Okay, so I love research. I'm all about research, so I just wanted to share with you all. I did a PubMed. PubMed is a search engine that some researchers use to do clinical research reviews. And I just put in faith in medicine just to see what that looked like, faith in science. And as you can see, between 1868 and 2024, 5,554 journal articles have been published. That's a lot, right? Between 1868 and 2024. So faith in medicine, this is not a new thing, right? It's not new. But we still need to bridge that gap, right? Especially in the Black community, and understand how faith plays and medicine, combine and work together. We can go on to the next slide. I wanted to give you all just a picture of what some of those articles have focused on when we look at faith in medicine. Faith in global health practice in Ebola and HIV emergencies, assessing and mobilizing faith organizations to implement childhood obesity prevention advocacy strategies, religion and spirituality, meaning and faith in American psychiatry from the 19th to the 21st century, the role and impact of personal faith and religion among genetic service providers, the effect of faith community nurse network and public health collaboration, and spirituality within the patient-surgeon relationship. So as you can see, it varies, right? We have Ebola, HIV, then we also have psychiatry, we have genetics, we have the patient-surgeon relationship. So here I just wanted to show you that it is apparent that researchers have looked at the role of faith in medicine since 1868. Okay, let's go to the next. So now I just wanted to look at faith and dementia, right? This is what we're here for, right? We're here for the Dementia Summit. And if you look between 1947 and 2024, 140 journal articles have been published. You probably would think it would be more, but this is since 1947, and I know there's a lot more to come. But you can go on to the next slide, and I just wanted to highlight the first article there, right? Dr. Epps and her team's article, the Alter program, a nurse-led, a dementia-friendly program for African-American faith communities and families living with dementia, which is so awesome. That is great. And then leadership challenges and strategies to dementia care in Chinese faith-based nursing homes, a qualitative study. Enhancing dementia education and cognitive screening in a Haitian population, a faith-based approach. So as you can see it, right? There's other communities that are actually focusing on faith and dementia. The role of traditional and faith healers in the treatment of dementia in Tanzania, and the potential for collaboration with allopathic healthcare services. And then finally, the experience of spirituality from the perspective of a people living with dementia, a systematic review and meta-synthesis. So as you can see, there are articles focused on faith and dementia, and we will see a lot more. But I just want to show you all the role that faith does play in medicine and science as well as in dementia. But again, we still just need to, bridge that gap, right? Bridge that gap, especially in the Black community. So, we're going to look at clinical trial and research and trials in medicine. So just for you all to understand that clinical research is a branch of healthcare science. It establishes the safety and efficacy of medicines, devices, diagnostic products, and treatment regimens intended for human use. So when we look at clinical trials, they are a type of research conducted with people that help us make improvements in medicine, right? So it's a clinical trial, is a type of research conducted with people. So for Alzheimer's disease and memory disorders, this may include new medicines or other treatments that can slow the progress of the disease, stop or improve symptoms of the disease. And when we talk about research, there's also observational studies when we don't include a potential treatment, when we're not looking for a potential treatment, but we're just collecting information from the person or looking at data that was already collected. So there's various types of ways you can participate in research, through a clinical trial and also through observational studies as well. Because what we like to do is just tell people, like, if you're not ready for a clinical trial, consider an observational study, right? Where you're just giving some information, right? You're maybe doing a procedure. So for example, the Global Alzheimer's Platform Foundation, we have a Hermes study. And that was our first sponsored study, and it's a biomarker study where we are looking at the risk of Alzheimer's disease. So we have a cohort of healthy adults, cognitively normal, MCI, mild cognitive impairment, and those that have prodromal AD or Alzheimer's disease. And what we're doing with that study is we're actually giving people a PET scan, imaging, right? An MRI scan. And we're doing cognitive assessments to see where they fall along the continuum, if they're cognitively normal, or they have MCI, or they have Alzheimer's. And the thing about that, the great thing about this study is we're giving results, right? We're making the results known to you if you want to know. Because I think it's important, right? People want to know, right? Some people might not, but some people do really want to know where they fall and where the results are. So I think it's important just to be informed about what clinical trial is available, if you want to participate, and if you're ready for clinical trial, or if you're ready for an observational study. Okay, we can go on to the next slide. So the role of clinical trials in medicine or science. So this may include new drugs, right? So we may be looking at new drugs. There is a drug right now that's FDA approved for Alzheimer's. It's called Leqembi. It's very expensive. And one thing we're trying to do is make sure it can be affordable for everyone and not just only a certain population, right? So new drugs, refer to them as investigational product or IP. So we're looking at changes in behavior, right? Perhaps a new diet, right? Or a medical device like a pacemaker or a deep brain stimulation or DBS. This may also include trying to find methods of existing treatments, like finding a new indication for an existing drug or studying a new way of performing a surgical procedure. So just wanted to give you an overview of what clinical trials and how their role is in medicine and science. You can go to the next slide. So this next slide, and I know I'm sorry, there's some small print here, but I will let you know what this shows, that this shows medicines to market. So I just want you all to have that understanding of what phases are involved when we're trying to bring a medicine to market, right? So you can see over here, look at all of those potential new drugs. We have like thousands of potential new drugs, right, that are at the drug discovery or preclinical phase. But then they go through the clinical trial phase, which are phase 1, phase 2, or phase 3. So did you see that big group of new medicines kind of dwindles and becomes much smaller as it goes through those processes? And then in phases. And then look at what you see. Out of all those potential new medicines, we have one FDA approved drug, right? That's something, right? This is interesting just to kind of take it in. So phase 0 means first studies in humans to see how the body metabolizes the drug. So this is not as many people in the phase 0, it's just trying to see how the body metabolizes the drug. Phase 1 is when we evaluate safety and dosing. So we have 20 to 100 participants that are part of phase 1. And then phase 2, we increase the number of patients and participants, and we're assessing the efficacy and evaluating safety. So as you can see, we go from 20 to 100. Phase 2 is 100 to 500 patients. And then phase 3 was where we're confirming the drug is safe and effective and assessing any side effects and comparing it to current treatments. And that's when we have 1,000 to 5,000 patients for phase 3. And then phase 4, we're just looking at safety surveillance. So I just wanted you all to just understand that whole process. It's a long process, right? As you can see, all of the clinical trial phases that are involved, and you start with tens, and then you end with thousands, and then you conduct safety surveillance after that. So I just want you just to understand that. And I think it's, like I said, being informed is just being, having the information when you make these decisions and these discussions with your healthcare provider, especially when you're considering participating in a clinical trial, to understand this whole phase 0 to phase 4 process. Okay. And I just wanted to share with you all, only about 12% of drugs entering clinical trials are approved for introduction by the FDA. Only 12%. And do you see how much it costs? Estimates of the average R&D cost per new drug range from less than $1 billion to more than $2 billion. So that whole process, right, bringing a drug to market, can you believe it? Yeah, it ranges from $1 billion to $2 billion. Yes. And as you can see here, and I wanted to let you all know, the FDA has actually issued a draft guidance for sponsors that make these drugs to ensure they have diverse representation when trying to bring these drugs into market, right? We can't bring these drugs to market when it only works for one community and it doesn't work for all, right? So I just wanted to provide you a look at, this is not just for Alzheimer's drugs, but these are drugs that were brought into market and approved in 2020. As you can see the breakdown and the average, women represented 56% of those drugs that were approved in 2020. 75% were white. Right, and this is not indicative of the population, right, of the US population. As you can see, Black or African American, 8%. 8%. That's actually a little high. As we learned yesterday, it can range from 1 to 5% for Alzheimer's disease studies. 6% for Asian, 11% for Hispanic, and those who are age 65 and older, 30%. And then the United States, 54% of those were approved in 2020. So again, it's imperative that we ensure that we have diverse representation in our clinical trials to ensure, again, that they work for all, right? And that maybe one side effect in a community may not be the same side effect in another community. So that's why it's so important that we have clinical trial participation among communities, especially the Black community. Okay. And I just wanted to show here that if you're thinking about it and you're like, we all remember some of the atrocities in clinical trials from the past, right? When we look at the Tuskegee, what happened at Tuskegee, and we talk about Henrietta Lacks, right? Those were really bad parts of our history that, we wish we could go back and just, change. I would say because of what happened, we have made strides to ensure that people are, heard, they're informed, right? We have the internal review board, it's the IRB. They have to ensure that each patient that's involved in the trial is safe and they're, what they're involved in, and they had all the questions answered. You want to make sure you're informed, consent, you understand it. Any question you have, you ask the principal investigator when you're participating in a clinical trial or any observational study as well. I just want to say that clinical trials are highly regulated. They are highly regulated. Just know that many people are looking at the conduct of the study. You have the clinical research coordinator, you have the PI, right? You have all of these team members that are ensuring that the study is safe. And also, it is an opportunity and an alternative to treatment because it also includes standard of care. You may also see the principal investigator more than you would your actual doctor because you have these visits that you have to do when you're in a clinical research study. And then they're reviewing side effects in real time. So I just want to ensure and just let you all know it is an option. I think some people had some questions yesterday about clinical trials, but it is an option to consider. But it's important that you're informed. If you have a question, please ask. You really want to ask. You want to make sure all your questions are answered. Okay, we can go to the next one. And thank you. That was all I had today. But if you have any questions, please feel free.